Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And we had something happen this week that I think raises an interesting topic, raises an interesting nutrition topic and a sports nutrition topic. And that is that we had college ball players, football players, served McDonald's and fast food at the White House. Now this has created a lot of controversy. So let me go ahead and put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling at my craft in a little bit, and let's talk about this. You know what, I'm not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about Trump in this. We're not going to say anything positive or negative about him, the White House, politics, anything else, because I don't want to get into that. I want to talk about the actual topic of elite athletes, particularly higher body weight elite athletes, consuming junk food, because there's this misconception that we have out here by people as far as what healthy is or what athletes eat. And it's hilarious. It's almost like when this stuff comes up, the average hippie and hippie fitness, as I like to call it, think that professional elite athletes sit around eating spinach and kale or something. And they seem to think that empty calories are somehow unhealthy for elite athletes. And nothing could be further from the truth. Now, what I do want to say, do I think that people need to understand this? Yeah, they need to understand this. Because if the average person who isn't an elite athlete ate like any of these people, what would happen? It'd kill you. You'll die. Right? If you sat around eating 6,000 calories of McDonald's every day, and you don't train 4, 5, 6 hours a day, carrying enormous amounts of muscle with a massive work capacity, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to get morbidly obese. You're going to be 300 plus pounds. Keep in mind, a lot of these guys are 300 plus pounds. You're going to become morbidly obese. You're going to probably get diabetes, have heart disease, possible cancers, everything else, because obesity is linked to cancer, right? That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen if you eat that way. But what people need to understand, a ton of elite professional athletes eat junk food, and they eat it every single day because it's necessary. It's necessary. You guys remember with Michael Phelps when it turned out some of the stuff came out of what all he ate and people were shocked? And we've had things like professional boxers, title holders who turns out they eat chicken McNuggets every day. Where do you guys think the whole thing of drinking a gallon of milk a day came from? It came from high school football locker rooms because it worked. Drinking a gallon of whole milk a day. Would anyone out there recommend the average person drink a gallon of milk every day? Of course not. That would be ludicrous. It would be insane. Football players do it to gain weight, to bulk up. Eric Bugenhagen, you guys know right here on YouTube Fitness, guy's lean, jacked, trains really hard, trains for hours every day, drinks a gallon of milk every single day. Guy's probably 10, 11% body fat. You see where we're going with this? Elite athletes actually need empty calories. They need empty calories to fuel their training. Essentially, a lot of elite professional athletes eat like fat people do. They have to. Because what makes you fat? Calories in, calories out. The same thing that fuels training is what makes you fat. So when we get into this whole idea, when we talk about healthy foods versus unhealthy, yeah, we can argue that a lot of this stuff is unhealthy, and I would say it is, right? Because it's oftentimes low in micronutrients, fairly low in vitamins and minerals. It's very calorically dense and easy to overeat. Well, for the average person, they don't burn enough calories to justify eating food like that. So you will overeat it. You might develop nutritional deficiencies while still being obese, although nutritional deficiencies aren't as common as people think they are, because when you are overeating, even though you might be eating a calorie surplus, there's still vitamins and minerals in those foods. But they don't always develop the nutritional deficiencies, but they might potentially, right? But mainly is that it's overeating empty calories that don't fill you up the same, because it's easy to eat 4,000 calories of pizza, right? It's easier to eat 4,000 calories of burgers and french fries and milkshakes. But elite athletes eat that way because they need it. They actually need the empty calories. And people say, well, wouldn't they be better off eating healthy foods? No, not necessarily. Why would you say that? It would be harder for them to get enough calories. Number two, when it comes to healthier foods, what's one of the big perks of it? Well, they fill you up on less calories, what we think of as healthy foods, whole foods, single ingredient foods. They fill you up easier. Calorie per calorie, they're more filling. Calorie per calorie, they have more vitamins and minerals. Well, if you're trying to monitor your caloric intake and not eat excessive calories, both of those are good things, right? Because you want to be able to moderate food intake, particularly when you're trying to lose body fat. When you're trying to lose body fat, which is what most people out there are trying to do to get healthier at most times, when they're thinking of improving their fitness, most people go into a fat loss concept. A lot of us, obviously, who are lifters and everything, we spend periods of time bulking up. The average person who's concerned with health and fitness doesn't. They don't ever need anything but health foods. Healthier foods, as people would term them. But that's how we would define it. Higher satiety, higher nutrient density, with low caloric density. But when you're an elite athlete eating 4, 5, 6,000 calories, you're not worried about vitamins and minerals. It's generally not an issue if you're eating any fruits and vegetables in there. People will say, well, why? Don't they need more? No, they don't need more. That's what people need to understand with this stuff also. Just because you train doesn't mean that you need double the amount of vitamin C or double the amount of magnesium or iron or anything else that other people need. It's actually not true. There's no evidence to support it. The research has shown that there are plenty of people who go to the professional level in strength sports or in all sorts of sports, NFL, right? There are sports dietitians who have looked at that, and some of the guys winning Super Bowls don't really exceed the RDA by very much on their basic vitamins and minerals, and they perform at the elite levels just fine. The only people that seem to need slightly more vitamins and minerals than the daily recommended amount are extreme endurance athletes, marathon runners, things like that, right? Endurance athletes seem to need a little bit more. But it's not double. It's something in the range of, some of the data has shown they need something like 25 to 50% more. So they might need to eat an extra half of an orange or an extra potato every day to get a little more vitamin C over the average person. They don't need it, and we know that strength athletes and people who are lifting as their primary form of physical activity don't seem to need more micronutrients than the average person does and what's recommended. They don't seem to need it for recovery, performance, anything else. So when you look at it from that perspective, if there's no benefit to consuming the healthier foods for them and they need empty calories, fast food makes sense. For 99% of the population, fast food is a bad thing, and that's what we do need to highlight here. But for serious athletes who train the way these guys train, and in some cases people who have extremely physically demanding jobs, who burn through an enormous amount of calories, junk food and fast food actually is beneficial. Perspective. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about the average person who just lifts weights, right? If all you do is lift weights for an hour, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about serious athletes who do a lot of work, or people who have very physically demanding jobs, right? People who are hours and hours every day. It's not the same thing. But those are the people who actually can benefit from eating junk food. For them, junk food can be health food. It's not going to be for the average person trying to get into shape. But for people to make a big deal about elite athletes, particularly higher body weight athletes that require strength, explosiveness, conditioning, everything else, to act like they're not going to eat and love junk food and eat it every single day is actually a detriment. It's ignorance. You don't understand what these people need nutritionally. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.